Hi guys and welcome to Strength Universe. Ken Patera is well known as a former Olympic weightlifter, professional wrestler and one-time World's Strongest Man competitor who seems to be overlooked in consideration of the world's strongest athletes of all time. But should he be worthy of such an accolade? Kenneth Wayne Patera was born on the 6th of November 1942 in Portland, Oregon. As a child, he was inspired after watching the US and Olympic weightlifter Norm Szymanski and first started to lift weights at home after acquiring a 110-pound set when he was 13 years old. The following year, he graduated from middle school, by which time he was able to dunk a basketball at only 5'9" inches tall. Since this was the 1950s, the benefits of weight training were misunderstood. In fact, Ken was the only athlete in school to lift weights. Ken attended Cleveland High School in Portland where he played football and wrestled as a heavyweight. However, his passion laid in track and field, in which he ran the hurdles and high jumped. That was until a serious ankle injury forced him to switch to the shot put and discus. At age 16, Patera could overhead press 220 pounds and bench press 285. He graduated high school in 1961, upon which time his athletic prowess had earned him a scholarship to Brigham Young University. During his years at BYU, Ken became known as one of the nation's best throwers, recording best throws with a shot put of 64 feet, discus of 177 feet 3 inches, and hammer of 180 feet 3.5 inches. While at BYU, Ken played around with powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting. During 1966, he entered one powerlifting meet where he achieved a 1,650 pound total, and 2 Olympic meets scoring a 1,005 pound total, although at this stage he wasn't lifting seriously. Later, Ken attended Portland State University, where in September 1968, following a disappointing 6th place finish at the Olympic tryouts, he switched his attention to Olympic weightlifting. Despite attending university and working nights, his improvements were amazing. During this period, Ken decided to enter powerlifting meets as motivation to spur on his training. He entered and easily overcame opponents in Portland, Oregon, and Northwest Powerlifting Championships. During his string of victories, Ken recorded very respectable numbers. They were a bench press of 465 pounds, a squat of 700, deadlift of 625, for a combined total of 1,790 pounds. Over the following year, Ken competed at several weightlifting meets, starting with an easy victory at the Washington State Open in December 1968, where he recorded a total of 1,030 pounds. 6 months later, at the Junior Nationals, he set 4 national records, including an 1,180 pound total. Ken achieved his final objective of the year by winning the super heavyweight title at the Senior Nationals with a total of 1,195 pounds. A title that he would win again the following year. Ken hit his peak from 1971 onwards, at which time he stood almost 6 foot 2 inches tall and tipped the scales at up to 154 kilograms or 340 pounds. During this year, he won the Senior Nationals for a 3rd time, 4 gold medals at the Pan Am Games, and finished second behind the great Vasily Alexiev at the World Championships. During this period of time, Ken would perform a front squat of 295 kilograms or 650 pounds, a press behind the neck with 405 pounds for 2 repetitions, and press off a rack 243 kilograms or 535 pounds. These numbers, especially during that era, were some of the best ever seen, and at this stage all of Ken's training was specifically aimed at Olympic weightlifting. Even so, he could squat 372 kilograms or 820 pounds with no supportive equipment other than a belt, a weight that at that time would have been the 2nd heaviest raw squat of all time. Ken would deadlift 356 kilograms or 785 pounds for 2 reps, and considering that he used a double overhand grip, This again was one of the heaviest deadlifts up to this period of time. Finally, and possibly of most interest to some of you, is the fact that Ken is recorded to have done a bench press of 254 kilograms or 556 pounds, a lift that he never trained and was said to have done with ease. 1972 saw Ken win his fourth and final consecutive senior nationals, where he became the first American to clean and press over 500 pounds. His greatest performance, and indeed that of any American, came on the 23rd of July in San Francisco, when he did a clean and press of 505.5 pounds, snatched 386.5 pounds, and did a clean and jerk of 505.5 pounds, for a 1,397.5 pound total. Unfortunately, Ken was unable to recreate the same form at the 1972 Summer Olympics that took place just over 1 month later, where he sadly failed to total after missing all 3 attempts at the snatch. Although bitterly disappointed, the breaking point came shortly afterwards, when Ken's best lift, the press, had been dropped from competition, and that, along with a lack of finances, pushed him to retire from the sport. Despite his relatively short weightlifting career, he had set a combined 84 records and become somewhat famous. So he decided to use his fame and athletic ability to pursue a lucrative career in wrestling. Ken made his wrestling debut for AWA in 1973, but would go on to wrestle for several organisations throughout the 1970s and 80s, including the World Wrestling Federation and the National Wrestling Alliance. In 1977, Ken was invited to compete at the inaugural World's Strongest Man, but after years on the road, Ken, who was now billed to weigh 286 pounds and was suffering from a back injury, was a shadow of his former self. This became apparent in the very first event, the barrel lift, an event that he surely would have dominated 5 years earlier, saw him fail to press the 250-pound barrel to finish in joint second place along with 4 other competitors. Due to the unusual scoring system that was used during the early years of the competition and only saw points awarded to the top 4 places, Ken failed to score any points in the bar bend event and only a single point in the wrist roll, that left him trailing in 5th place. Event 4 was the wheelbarrow carry, and saw Ken's size relative to some of the other competitors help him to finish in 2nd place behind Bruce Wilhelm, and moved him up the leaderboard to 4th place overall.
Because this is something that you really can't train for, because they're all weird events, but I love it. The competition's fantastic.
Ken's experience in throwing events such as the discus and hammer throw paid dividends in the tire toss event, as he took the win to now jointly lead the competition with Bruce Wilhelm on 21 points apiece. Ken put in a solid performance in the trample to finish in 3rd, losing out to winner Bruce Wilhelm and runner-up Bob Young, that resulted in him slipping to 2nd place overall. Sadly, Ken's back injury and lack of strength-specific training came to the fore in the following 2 events, and saw him 0 point in both the car deadlift for max before retiring from the max squat.
Kenny says I can't go any further because of that painful back,
and resulted in him dropping to 3rd place on the leaderboard. Ken fought through the pain in the penultimate event, the fridge carry, to finish in a respectable 4th place and hang on to his position on the leaderboard just half a point ahead of Big Lou Ferrigno. The final event was the tug of war, and saw Kenny pitted against Bruce Wilhelm in a battle that he was never likely to win, partly due to the 40-pound deficit in body weight and the poor grip offered by his footwear.
I told you that there is an advantage of being fat. The man outweighs me by 50 pounds.
Ken eventually secured 3rd place by beating the Incredible Hulk, and in doing so cemented his 3rd place position on the podium. A very impressive result for someone who hadn't been involved in heavy lifting for a number of years and was suffering with a back injury. Considering that Patera set 84 records during a very short weightlifting career, some of which still stand today, the numbers he produced in the squat, bench press and deadlift achieved without specific training, and finally his third place finish at the World's Strongest Man, despite his suboptimal physical condition at that time. Do you think Ken is worthy of being considered one of the strongest men of all time? That's it for the video, but thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please support the algorithm by hitting like, sharing the video and subscribing for more. Thank you.